Let's roll this off. We got the roll call. Guys, you got the minutes yesterday, the day before. Everybody get a chance to take a look at them. Any corrections, retractions, anything you don't want, you have an issue with, please let us know. Put your hand up or something. If everybody's okay with it, someone want to make a motion to approve the minutes of the March 10th, 2021 meeting. Motion. Second.
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Okay. There's no one in the waiting room, is there, Corey? I don't know if we have any public comment. That's where they'd be.
Well, Mark is here, but I'm not sure if he has any comment.
All right. You want to check with him and see if he wants to say anything in public comment?
I guess, not sure how to do that. I guess you can raise your hand. Ah, there he is.
Yeah, because we can't see him.
Okay, he's raising his hand.
Well, Corey, that was a lot of trouble for me to say I have no comments.
Okay, gotcha.
All right.
Gotcha. All right, yeah.
Mark.
All right.
Thanks.
You also got, I think, 3 or 4 pages of division reports, maybe 5 with a couple of diagrams. Anybody have anything they want to ask about that or any questions related to it? These pods that we're talking about for use at the concert, are they just folding chairs put together, or is there something more elaborate than that?
No, well, Melissa has firsthand experience designing/installing these.
It's a really complicated system involving spray paint on the ground.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, it's just exit basically on the ground for 2 or 4 people. Put a blanket down, sit there.
Stay.
I like the pods make it sound so fancy and well thought out. But thank you.
There is a lot of thought involved, so it is that, but it's definitely not too fancy.
And what was it, about 65% capacity or something? Is that what, or is that for later on? I can't remember.
Yeah. Was 12 per 1,000 square feet. 12 people per 1,000 square feet, I think it is.
Right, and the events are all going to be ticketed in advance in order to keep the numbers down, correct?
Well, the max number of tickets we have available meets our maximum per square footage.
Okay.
So
what do we do about people who will straggle in or just show up?
that's not an option.
We tell them to wait.
Yeah, I guess, if there's some pods that are unsold day of, I guess, it makes sense to add those then.
Or if somebody doesn't show up.
Right.
Yeah, you put them in the overflow area at Sardis Park.
Yeah.
I'm just curious because that may prove to be an issue with people just kind of showing up because, the park's not closed off. So I just don't know.
It's roped off.
All right, thanks. Anybody else have any questions on any of the division reports?
No. Going back to the pods, I think it does make sense to charge, because if you don't charge something, people will sign up and not show up, and then you'll have empty space in the park. So while I'm always happy that we haven't been charging in the past, I think charging for the pods is almost necessary to ensure that people do have some skin in the game and will show up for it, and you don't just have empty space. So I thought it was a good idea.
Yeah, I think it'll work until we can get back to where we were in 2019. So we'll see.
Right.
Okay, I've got another question for you all about camps. I don't know if it's here. Camps, are we, how is the town handling capacity and spacing in camp, or is that not going to be an issue?
Most of our camps, we have capped the attendance at most of them are like between 10 and 15, right?
Yeah, it depends on the space.
Yeah, and the bigger, so Camp Funshine, the larger camps that would have taken place at Cruise, those are not going to run this year. Well,
So, what kind of reduced capacity are we looking at? I know last summer you can't compare it to, but let's say the summer of 2018. What percent of spots do we have compared to that if we know? So like 50 or?
As far as setting the capacity, probably, it's 50% a good benchmark as far as, I guess, evaluating each room size and then capping it. I'd say 50. Melissa.
Yeah, I don't know how you're doing it because, the CDC was 6 feet, then it's 3 feet, CMS is 3 feet. There just seem to be a mess of different standards floating around out there.
Yeah.
Isn't it 3 feet now, though? I thought the CDC
For
had
kids.
changed 3 feet.
Yeah, I think with indoor spaces, though, I think we're still at 50% capacity. So I guess, each of the rooms, some they're a little bit different in square footage. 50% is a good benchmark to use as far as what we've done to just reduce it by that.
Right. I know the budget process has been ongoing. Has this been entered into from your calculations, the fact that obviously there will be less, you can expect less summer camp income than usual?
Yeah. Yeah, we looked at the revenue numbers this morning in our staff meeting. A little disheartening, but reality of where we are. And then also moving forward, looking at budget for FY22, at least looking at this first half of it, reasonably, I guess, a reasonable expectation for things not to change drastically from where we are right now, between now and December, revenue-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but obviously, I know last summer was a disaster in terms of camp revenue, and this summer is going to be better, but it's not going to be anywhere near where it should be, right?
Right.
Right. I know. I also saw, I guess, CNC. One of the stations is reporting that the demand for summer camp is going through the roof because I guess everyone's sick of seeing each other. So I don't know if you guys are experiencing that now or not.
Can we second that motion, please?
Yeah, and to some degree, we would expect that, but knowing that CMS has, I guess it's Camp CMS.
Yeah.
And maybe some other school systems also, the school call it summer camps, being offered by the schools is filling that need to some degree. I'm not sure where we are with camp numbers today, but I'll say even, opening up this year this summer with our camps, I'll say that a lot of our participants are going to be in the CMS, Camp CMS.
Right. That's a 6-week program, if I remember right. I think that's what they were talking about, right? I think it was 6 weeks summer school, basically Camp CMS.
Yeah.
One more question for you while we're on COVID and everything else. The Parks and Rec offerings that have been either taken off or on Zoom, is there any talk about bringing stuff back into the community center, back into the MAC, or any time frame on that, or that's still wide open?
We're I guess opening up some of our programming. Something still, I guess we haven't officially brought back yet.
Yoga is coming, Howie. It's coming.
Was that your big picture?
That's going to be a space issue, though, or that's going to create some issues. But I
meet with Katrina next month.
I think she's gotten too used to being on Zoom. We may have a problem there, but yeah, I'm just curious. I know the MAC. I saw that while you have shows going on in the main building, the MAC is still closed off, at least as far as I understood it.
No, we still have classes over there. We've increased our pottery classes. That's been something that since Kids Art is no longer in the space, we have a lot more pottery classes going on. And we have those going on 3 days a week. We have our oil painting class going on 2 days a week, and that's 3 different classes. And then there's a couple groups that are still meeting over there, some knitting groups, and Basket Guild is meeting over there in that space. So I would say, and then our arts for adults with disabilities is coming back or just started back on Fridays. So the only day it doesn't have something going on over there is on Sundays. Every other day there's activities at some point during the day.
Are we putting any restrictions on having a proof of vaccine, or it's wide open? It's basically just use your common sense and be careful.
Yep, just put on a mask or a face covering and stay away from other people, 6 feet.
Thank you. All right, anybody else have any questions on any of the division reports or anything else? No, if not, Corey, your report, I guess.
All right. So looking back at the town board meeting from March, I believe it was 22nd, where we, I guess the original thought was to, talk through the options, looking at Stumptown Park, Matthews Veterans Park, and that whole conversation. Where we landed that evening was direction from the board to hire a landscape architect and let this professional really come up with designs that show ways that Stumptown Park and Matthews Veterans Park will be able to interact. What we've been labeling as delineation, what this interaction of these spaces could be, both trying to make sure that we, keep in mind certainly the programming and space needs related to Stumptown Park, then also the delineation and creation of sense of space, place for Matthews Veterans Memorial. And so this past Monday, the board did authorize us to move forward with Stewart Engineering. This group, at least most of you as part of this group, should be familiar with Stewart. They are the group that did Purcell Halsey Park with us, and also created the vision for an expanded Stumptown Park. So a firm that knows Stumptown Park intimately, have no doubt they'll do a great job. We haven't officially given the notice to proceed, but the agreement should be in my inbox tomorrow. I'll talk to Hazen, and then we'll be ready to proceed, once the documents are signed. And then we'll lay out a schedule from there. They project roughly 3 months from notice to proceed to presentation to the town board. Once we have a definite schedule with some dates, certainly lay it out to everybody. Well, this committee and also the Veterans Advisory Committee, they will speak to, both of you, and in addition to working with staff to create these 3 conceptual designs. So exciting stuff. Do you guys have any questions about that?
Yeah, what was that meeting? It was kind of confusing as to what the scope of Stewart's review was going to be. It's still up in the air. We're hearing delineation, marking off. We're also getting some word about improvements to the more. I'm just not sure where it stops.
Well,
I'm trying to understand what the RFP that went out was precisely for.
It was sort of left kind of open-ended, meaning we didn't want to bring a product to this firm. We gave them the ideas of what we wanted to have happen, meaning again, preserve the programming and space needs of Stumptown Park, and then just create this sense of place for the Matthews Veterans Memorial. And from there, we're going to let this group of professionals sort of come up with some concepts to show how the edges, what are the edges going to look like, essentially. It's going to include, we're going to ask them to also talk through some of the signage questions. If anything does look different on the fence, we talked about, looked at those options for the more vertical structures versus the low level, zero vert structures, looking at the landscape, things that could be added in the landscape area on the, say, outside of the sidewalk. And they're going to just take all of this info along with conversations, and we're going to let them sort of give us what they see, in their professional opinion.
And guys, in case you weren't aware, the town council did not approve any name change. They just want to go ahead and work on the delineation. Even though they didn't want to call it delineation, I have no idea what else to call this project.
Yeah, they're going to weigh in on, everything related to this project.
Right. and Doug Rose and the Veterans Advisory Committee are also looped in on this, so we will be dealing with them and hearing from them once as the project moves forward. And Doug is apparently in touch with Mark and Hooks Ore and getting their input at their end.
Yes. So ideally, it'd be one meeting with both advisory committees, members of groups to receive input, and then the subsequent public meeting with the elected officials. So again, I do feel good about this group we're working with, creative people that, again, should give us a great product.
All right, so we're looking probably 90 days out, realistically.
Yeah, from next Monday, 90 days.
Are we going to hold a public meeting at some point, or is this just going to be handled committee-wise and taken to town council?
In my opinion, the public meeting would be the meetings with the advisory committees. Meaning I do think the advisory committee members are the links to the public. I don't see like having the type of public meeting where we had in January. I don't see it as that scale, but I do see it as public meeting, meaning working with the advisory groups.
Okay, with public comment obviously allowable at the time we bring this up. That's fine. I just didn't want to be sure we weren't going to have to go have a separate or a totally dedicated public meeting again.
No.
Anybody have any questions about Stumptown Park, Veterans Memorial at Stumptown Park, or whatever they're going to eventually designate it as? Yeah. Anything?
Yeah, just a couple of other things. So we are meeting on Saturday. The department heads and the elected officials talk a little bit about budgeting for FY22, but also looking at the next 5 years, really focusing on things that affect the tax rate, frankly, big projects, operating needs of the town. I'll share with Parks and Recreation, a lot of the things that we are really dealing with may not necessarily be labeled as operating. A lot of things that, many of the things that we talk about, they're projects. They're the capital needs. And really, from my perspective, that's what I'm really going to be talking about. But again, they are really taking this deep dive into the operating costs of the town, say for the next 5 years, what that looks like in terms of the tax rate, and then potentially any bond projects, and what appetite the board has to pursue a bond for any of these larger projects. And again, that's going to be Saturday. Side note, I think it was in Scott's division report, but also this coming Saturday is Keep Matthews Beautiful. Everybody saw that promo. Plan to come out and pick up some trash somewhere, even in your own neighborhood. The citizen survey is complete. Frankly, I have not had a chance to really read through it yet. In our staff meeting, we talked briefly about it. Quick summary. I think our department is doing well, at least from the responses. A few comments about, I guess, things that we could do better, maybe in terms of maintenance. So, I think we're, taking care of the things we have. But I'll forward that information out to everybody. You can, read through it and, let me know if you have any questions or anything you want any more info about. Howie, I think you've asked me this next question for probably 2 years and I have not had a good response. But Roseland Cemetery.
I was coming right at you. You're on. Yeah, what's happening, my friend?
All right, so we are cleaning it up now. So the development, they're creating the access to it, parking, paved walkway to get down to the cemetery. We citizens, volunteers are actually doing the cleaning up of the space at this point. Paula Lester and a couple of other volunteer groups have been out there for the past couple of weeks. We're adding that location as another spot for volunteers on this coming Saturday. Myself, I'm going to be out there, and it's, clearing out the overgrowth, anything that's just preventing it from looking like the historic cemetery that we want it to be. We just continue to, lost my page. We're just going to continue to chip away at, some of that stuff that just needs to be cleared out of there. Now I don't have go ahead.
Is there a part of budget proposal? We talked about doing some work down there, setting off the cemetery, maybe some small markers. Is that in the upcoming budget, or is that going to be further down the road?
We've talked about signage. So, there's going to be dollars to create signage. I'll say the town is going to pay for it, either through the historical foundation or I guess whatever vehicle it is. I'm not sure, but we will create signage to certainly label the cemetery, as what it is.
Right, and we also talked about possibly some signage explaining the history behind it, as opposed to just what it is. We may want to reach out to Harvey, and he can put you in touch with some of the other families who have family members that are buried there.
I'll say,
they need to be deeply involved in this as much as anybody else.
Yeah.
Tell me again, how old are these graves, and how many are there? It's been a while since we've talked about it. It is the oldest. Am I talking about oldest African American cemetery in this area?
I believe in North Carolina.
Okay.
Don't hold me to that.
Okay.
But, we do have the awesome resource being Paula Lester, who knows everything about the history of Matthews. And she's, like I said, she's heavily involved with it. Certainly, if she hasn't, I'll say she's already been in touch with Harvey and some of the other families who have family members in that cemetery.
How many graves do we know?
I am not sure. I've tried a couple of times to drive back there and walk to it. If you don't know where you're going, you're not going to find it. I'll put it that way.
It's hidden right now without a pathway there. You actually have to know exactly where it is.
It is. And, Hazen's been back there. He gave me some very specific directions for Saturday. I'll double check the number of graves back there and share that with you in an email.
Okay.
I know Harvey's mom passed away about 15 years ago, and she's interred there. So I don't know. It's probably not active now, but it has been active up to the recent times.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. We know if is it still being. I assume no one's being interred in there. Otherwise, we would know about it.
Right. No, I don't think anyone is being added to it. No.
But that seems to be a relatively inexpensive project, except for signage that we can probably get off the boards relatively early, and it's long overdue.
Yeah. So I'll continue. I'll say I'll continue to update you, but this time I really will have some information to share with you moving forward. We're making some pretty good progress.
Is there a plan in terms of a walkway or pathway for access to it, to be created, or that's still coming down the road?
The plan showed a concrete sidewalk to it. Now that's the plans. Of course, as I drove by it, I can't tell exactly where that walkway is going to be. So I'll get some more information. I'm hoping the as-built resembles the plans. But as I visualize it, I can't see exactly where it is, or it may have changed. But I'll find out the exact walkway, the route that will take me back to the cemetery.
Can I make a suggestion here? I think once we get the plans there, I think we want to hold a public meeting and let these families and stakeholders come in and give their input on the record, because this is a little different than most of the things we do. This is a cemetery.
Yeah.
So it's much more sensitive than an empty lot on Pleasant Plains Road. I just think that's probably the best way we can do this. Advertise it heavily in the Crestdale area and let these folks come in and give us their input.
Certainly, I think I'll talk a little bit more with Jay to see what they've already got in mind for it, and also Paula. But yeah, certainly once this is done, we will make sure that it's marketed and advertised.
Yeah, I just think we have to be especially sensitive in this area, with this particular area. Much more than we usually are. To make sure that everybody is at least aware. And it should be relatively easy if we can find out who's in the cemetery. I don't know if there's a list, and, the local stakeholders can get back and let us know who to reach out to.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. We can do that.
You
All right,
take,
thank you. It's nice that there's progress on that finally.
Corey, when you're over there cleaning out, can you take some pictures?
Yes, I'll take some pictures Saturday.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And what time is the cleanup going on Saturday?
The entire cleanup project is from 8 to 12. Pretty sure that's it. I guess if you guys haven't already signed up, I don't think you can use that link to sign up at this point, but you may be able to reach out to Life Fitzpatrick, and he can, if you would like to join, Life can put you on the list and give you in a signed area.
We made sure to sign up. Our homeschooling group will be there.
Awesome.
Oh,
Yes. And we also want to adopt. Remember, I'm going to start that conversation about how to adopt a part of it because we're constantly meeting at Square Lake Park.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on.
All right. So I do want to share my screen for a second. One project that we're also working on is a connection from Uten Pottery. Let's pull this up. From Uten Pottery to Fullwood Lane. All right, can everybody see that?
Mm-hmm.
Not yet. There it is.
Yep, we can.
All right, so I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but Jefferson Street up at the top of the page is where Uten Pottery is.
Mm-hmm.
And the thought is to create this bike and pedestrian connection along this ridge.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is actually Carrington Place property at to the northwest, and then approaching Plantation Crossing Drive. Now, this will be a conversation with Matthews Glen, still in the works. Certainly, this is this is part of our downtown mobility plan, but this is a private street. Plantation Crossings Drive is a private street. Working with this group again, just to see if this is even an option to connect to the street. But it is something that we're pursuing. Just wanted to share that with you.
That's good.
And a couple of options for the route. This is probably the least desirable one because it dumps bikes and pedestrians on call it the private side. There's a gate right here at Plantation Crossings. So maybe this is the more palatable option. But again, just sharing that this is a project we're talking about. Certainly nothing that is anything more than a line on a map right now. But hopefully with some more conversation, we can make this connection. We do see it. Again, it's very valuable. Matthews Glen, Axe, they're building, if you can see the purple bluish line, mm-hmm. They're building this multi-use path along Fullwood. Mm-hmm. And if you can imagine a connection to Jefferson Street and then leading, back into downtown that way, it could be an awesome loop that for bikes and walkers. And also, one more. Here we go. All right, so the connection from Riverbanks Drive to 4 Mile Creek Greenway. So the red line is the town-owned easement from Riverbanks, the cul-de-sac, and then the blue line is the actual 4 Mile Creek. You can see the concrete where the existing 4 Mile Creek Greenway is. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Goal is to make this connection along the red line. Challenge is right here with the lighter colored blue. That is a tributary of 4 Mile Creek Greenway. And actually out on site last week with Meck County Stormwater, they did a preliminary assessment of it and it checked all the boxes as it's a jurisdictional waterway, meaning it's waters of the U.S., meaning it's a connection of different streams and they collect at some point, and a lot of water runs through this little tributary, more than just say in the immediate area. So with all that said, it's more than just dropping a pipe into the tributary and making a connection, which would be the easiest thing to do, but we can't because of the impacts of that tributary. So working with the Army Corps of Engineers, figure out what we need to do to treat this crossing. If it does become a pedestrian bridge, what I guess conversation is at this point, a bridge would be less impactful than the pipe in this trib. But the residents along Riverbanks, it is a vocalized want, this connection to be able to be on the street and just walk directly on the 4 Mile Creek. So that's another project we're working on.
Where about on the Greenway is this connection? I'm having trouble visualizing where it's supposed to hook into the Greenway.
It is. Did that image go away, or can you guys still see it?
You can still see it. I see two large buildings. I don't know what they are. If you tell us what those are, maybe that would help.
Yeah, this is the old public works. So this is where the Playhouse is having their stuff. So to the east, slight northeast is Trade Street. And then what you recognize as 4 Mile Creek Greenway coming down past Old Public Works, Fountain Rock Park, that little circle right there, and then curving, heading towards Squirrel Lake Park.
So this will be closer to the start of the Greenway.
Correct.
Okay, I just need orientation. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's right by where the hill slopes down and then goes back up.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about, just past Public Works.
Yep.
Okay, great, thank you. That helps me a lot. I'm not real good with spatial stuff from overhead.
Gotcha. All right.
Is that the only, I take it they're pressing hard. Do we have any other neighborhoods that have approached us about, I know when we started this, we were getting requests, right and left, but it's been a couple of years and things appear to be relatively quiet about neighborhoods requesting access from their neighborhood to the Greenway.
Yeah, right. At this point, this is the only neighborhood that's talked to us about it. We'll see if any more pop up. And related to that, last thing I wanted to share was the MEC playbook, being the Mecklenburg County Park and Recreation Master Plan update. They are finalizing that document now. Actually, I'll share the final, I'll call it the final draft. There may be some amendments made to it, but slight. The bulk of the information, the message, I'll say it's finalized, and I'll share that with you next week. But should be some good projects coming out of that. Just looking at what they have, say, prioritized around the county. Matthews being the group that's very vocal about what we want and what, say, the expectations of citizens, what Met County, say should, pay for. So we expect a continued great partnership with the county, and again, hopefully some good projects come out of this that directly impact Matthews.
Okay, anything else for Corey? Of course, I always have more. Two questions for you. The Erickson lot at Pleasant Plains, that's in the town's possession right now, correct? Does the town own that
Yes.
lot? And are we doing anything in terms of planning, budget-wise, or is it just going to be banked for the foreseeable future to figure out what to do with it?
Good question. That's one of the properties we're going to talk about Saturday a bit. Windsor Run did give the town $1 million for development of a park site. I guess didn't necessarily say that it would have to be that 28 acres as the space that's developed. At this point, I can just say it's something that we're going to talk about. We did share some design options. There was one that included a school. So I'll say the town still recognizes that there is a need for, say, property for an additional elementary school. We haven't, say, been working directly with CMS on this, but it's going to be an ongoing conversation. No we aren't ready to pull the trigger. I'll put it that way. We aren't ready to pull the trigger on any adopting any design for that space at this point. A couple of unknowns, but it is something that at this point it will be a park of some sort.
Does CMS have any property in Matthews to trade if they were to co-op part of that? I'm just curious whether, a land swap is a possibility.
I'm not aware of any CMS property that doesn't say already have a school on it.
Okay, I was just curious because obviously if they co-op part of that 27 acres, the question is, what do we do now?
Yeah. Yeah, it's it's one of those unknowns. I'll say there's some competing needs. I mean, all around Matthews, but then also even in this 28 acres. It is in the town's purview to create the design for it. Still unsure what that looks like.
And one more piece of property, and I always forget the crossroad, but the property off Sam Newell, very close to Margaret Wallace, part of the tenant development.
Across from 4 acres, the Four Corners development on Keziah.
Yes, Keziah, that's it.
Yeah, 4 acres.
Do we have that now or not?
We do. That is town property. A portion of it will be the connection from Urbans Creek Greenway up to Keziah. And then Keziah, the connection will then take you to Sam Newell.
There was some talk a while ago about a community garden up in the area of the elementary school. I'm wondering, is what remains of that lot possibly amenable to a community garden project? I know it's an odd lot. It's right by the, I don't know about drainage or whatever, just a thought. Because I know we had talked about, trying to put maybe a community garden up by the elementary school. Crown Point Elementary.
Yeah, so we looked at that area. I looked at it with our engineers, and a lot of it is in floodplain. Given Urbans Creek Greenway is right there, and it would, and I guess in some sense, it would be sort of a gamble. It'd be installing a community garden that potentially could flood, every year, every other year. We haven't, I guess, abandoned that thought, but that developer has been, we've been having some conversations, that where that house is on the corner is the high point of the property. Looking at some options. We don't, in my opinion, the town, our department certainly does not have a use for the house that's on the property. If the house were gone and that area closer to Sam Newell were the space that we were focusing on, I think there's more opportunity up at that end than say closer down by the creek. We'll be out of the floodplain. Talking just top of my head or just some of the ideas I have, I do think we do have a need around Matthews for some active recreation that's outdoors, meaning it's pickleball, basketball, some court sports, those whatever type of transition style soccer courts, certainly not soccer fields, but those courts where you can play soccer where the goal is to the north and then to the east is where you score your goals, not necessarily north, south, or east, west, that type. I do see that as a need, and I think this would be a good opportunity or a good location for something like that where it's not immediately surrounded by homes. I think that's the objection most times. This active outdoor recreation is already, say, homes already built up around it. And call it noise pollution or fear of noise and light pollution is often the biggest hurdle. So for me, if we can get closer to Sam Newell, then we have some opportunity for active recreation, but certainly closer down to the creek. A community garden is a thought, something that could happen. There is some fear, though, with its being in the floodplain and just being so close to the creek. And
right, it's just a relatively small space, as I understood it. And you mentioned being a floodplain makes part of it unusable. So I'm just hoping that we don't end up with a property that basically doesn't do us a heck of a lot of good.
Yeah. I mean, it could serve as. We looked at there were some thoughts about parking for the Greenway, but the county has their own plans over closer to the elementary school. I think where that there's a ball field out there right now where there's at least a backstop.
At the corner of Lakeview.
Right, almost across the street.
Yeah.
But once again, that area of town is not well served. I mean, you've got Rice Park that just opened up, but that's still a good ways away from the Keziah site.
Yeah.
Does anybody know what's going on with the Tennyson community? They have not done a thing.
Which community?
That's a community that's building where that lot is on Keziah. Tennyson's the name of the development.
They built 3 houses and there has not been any sign of anything in months.
I go by there. I have seen dump trucks and other things going in and out.
Okay.
But I haven't seen any real progress on the ground.
I haven't either. I haven't seen anybody going in and out of that model home either. And I'm up and down that road. And I always look because it's
On
my business.
You know, once they move out of zoning and really kick their project off, really they only talk to us when it's, there's an issue or something they want to offer or offer us to give them or something.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to them a lot other than some conversation about some of the dirt, I guess, is on their site. And I'll share this where the thought of the demolishing the house, the developer wants to, I guess, see if some of the dirt can be moved to the 4 acres that we were just talking about. That's currently on their site. Maybe it builds up a portion of the low-lying areas. What will have to be permitted and all that good stuff. So I've only talked to them via email, and we've been talking about dirt. So beyond that, I'm not sure.
And so those are the 2 lots that the town has, basically 2 empty, undeveloped lots: the Keziah site and the Erickson site. Right.
That's it.
There's nothing else that covers the inventory that hasn't at least had anything done to it.
Correct.
Okay, just thank you.
Yeah, and we're getting there, Ryan. I promise you, the dog park will be here before you know it.
My next question.
Every time I ride by there.
You'll see the sign going up. Driven by in the past week or so. The block work is being installed now. Probably half of the fencing is up. Parking lot is about 65% done. Couple of other tasks remaining. We are going to have to treat the surface a little different than what we originally thought. We are going to have to add some gravel / recycled concrete in some of the spaces that we know grass is not going to grow, and it's just going to be mud. At some point, it could be a transition to just complete mulch throughout the whole site, but there is some good grass that we want to leave at this point and not just simply cover it up. But we're getting there.
What was determined for use or non-use of sponsorships there?
It could be, I guess short answer was yes. So groups would be able to approach, well, the town would, honestly, we would approach them. And I guess one of the limitations was, I guess, setting this time limitation on it. It wouldn't be anything in perpetuity. And I guess just being conscious of not wanting it to turn into all love in the world for Mara, but it's not going to look like one of the fences in the outfield.
Yeah.
That's what we did not want.
Mm-hmm.
So the board did sort of allow staff to use our own judgment about some of the signage, and we will be very reasonable, and we don't want it to look like an outfield either.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for Corey on director's report? No? Old business, we've already covered Stumptown Park renaming, delineation, and that's been pretty much all of our business for the past 2-3 months, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything, I think you covered Uten Pottery, we talked about all the park properties. Is there anything else out there anybody has any questions about we've visited in the past? If you do, just unmute yourself and come on in. I guess not. All right, anything new that anybody wants to bring up? Going once, going twice, gone. All right, if that's it, I think, Corey, we think we've covered everything then.
I think so. For the next couple of at least the next meeting. Oh, I'm sorry, not next meeting. Next meeting, reminder, we did talk about having a joint meeting with the Cultural Diversity Committee. And so that is right now, maybe I'll make this a question. Would this group want to have May, be the joint meeting with the Cultural Diversity Committee?
Sure. I don't see anybody having an objection to that.
No.
Be a good time since we really don't have anything going on. I mean, pertinent that.
And so now with that, timeline-wise, like I said, we haven't set the schedule to work with the landscape architect. I do think one of our already set meetings would be a perfect opportunity to meet with this landscape architect. Mm-hmm. Would this group be okay to make our meet? Let me
suggest when we get the landscape architect together, let's have a smaller meeting with Doug and Larry at Matthews Veterans. And then they can go back to their folks. We can go back to ours and we can sit in on each other's meetings. But I think that would probably be faster and easier.
Yeah, I think their meeting is the week before ours. Mm-hmm. And so I guess now, at least you or a couple of people from this committee, would you commit to attending the Veterans Advisory Committee meeting in May, which again, I think it's the week before. It's the first Wednesday or Thursday.
Right, and they're open meetings, so we're all welcome to attend, and they're friendly. And once again, it may not be ready by May. It may be June. We just don't know. It's really going to be Stuart's timeline, not ours.
Yeah, so I'll share some more information as we set the schedule. But I guess in concept, at this point, we're fine with May being the joint meeting with the Cultural Diversity Committee.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I have a question. So what's the meeting about? Is this just a meet and greet? Maybe you sent that already and I missed it. Sorry.
No, I should tell you what it is, right? They asked, they're looking for any thoughts that this committee has about the gaps, like what's missing in Matthews, what do we need to supplement as far as the cultural needs around Matthews. They are, in my opinion, I'll say looking for things to be advocates for.
Okay.
For promoting and really reaching out to get your input.
Got it.
Can you give us a more specific example?
So, let's see. One of the last conversations I had, we talked through. We talked about a lot. We sort of focused on events in that discussion, okay. But I guess diving down, is there a need for more, what were we talking about? We talked about cooking classes. We talked about, the outcome of the meeting.
So it was more event focused is what you're saying.
That meeting, this last conversation, it was, say an email from Hazen and, not from Hazen. Well, it was from Hazen, but really Natisha, their committee chair, was asking the question, really just asking this committee or asking me to ask this committee, what do you see as a need in Matthews? So I guess in a sense, it's pretty open-ended.
Okay.
1 second, I see. Adding people here. All right, Leanne's in. I'll say it's open-ended in some respect. I guess trying to give you an example, it's kind of tough. Is there a need for, I don't want to say the wrong thing. It's, like I said, we landed on a cultural event was one outcome of this last conversation.
That helps. I was just curious if I understand event focused.
Yeah. And this does not have to be event focused. Anything we share next month. It could be, anything you've talked to any other citizens about, anything you feel personally, strongly about. It's pretty open-ended. And I'll get some detailed, call it criteria of what they're looking for.
Okay.
That
That would be helpful before the meeting.
Okay. I'll do that. I believe we originally wanted to meet in January or February. And then we, of course, pushed everything back. I don't think the focus has changed since then, but I'll confirm.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Does anybody else have anything, new business we haven't talked about before? In that case, I guess we adjourn the meeting. Leanne, your timing is perfect.
Sorry about that. I have Matthews Alive on the same night. So
Not a problem. But all right.
did anybody
guys.
have any questions for me or events or anything?
No, we commented on the pod thing. We think that is really a good idea. And I think selling, even though we've had free in the past, making sure that people pay so that they show up when they reserve something. I think that's a great idea, like what you've done.
It's been a hoot. I'm figuring it out as I go. It's very labor intensive. So it really can't sustain itself this way.
Right.
But we'll see.
Yeah. That sounds good.
All right. Anything else? No? In that case, I think we're done for the night, guys. Thank you all for coming. Stay safe and healthy, and we'll catch you all on May, about a month from now, whatever date that is.
Sounds good.
I don't have a calendar anymore. So thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.